Good evening. This is the Dania Beach City Commission special budget meeting. It's Tuesday, July 30th, 2019 at 5:03. Please call to order, and I'm sorry, do the roll call.
Mayor Llewellyn.
Here.
Vice Mayor Odman.
Here.
Commissioner Brandemart.
Here.
Commissioner Harris.
Here.
Commissioner James.
Here.
City Manager Garcia.
Here.
City Attorney Ansberg.
Here.
Thank you.
And do we have the presentation? Or are we going straight to public hearings?
Ready?
Presentation?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, residents of City of Dania Beach, special guests, and the staff of Dania Beach. So I wanted to thank everybody that was involved in the budget committee. This year I put a budget committee that included our Assistant City Manager, Candido Sosa Cruz. It included Nikki Satterfield, our Director of Finance, and Adam Siegel, our Assistant Director of Finance, who worked very hard and diligently with all our department directors. We started this budget process in almost $2 million in the red. Even though we have had steady growth, this year was a little bit challenging. It was, in regards to revenue, you have to go back to 2014 to really see the numbers that we got this year. But we really welcomed the challenge, and everyone really worked diligently. We were able to balance the budget and at the same time focus on service delivery for our residents, investing in programming, in infrastructure, and also investing in human capital. It's a very lean budget, but again, it's focusing on service delivery for our residents. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to our Director of Finance, our Chief Financial Officer, Nikki Satterfield, that will do a brief presentation to the Mayor and Commission.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, staff, and residents. Today, we're going to give a quick overview of the presentation of the City Manager's proposed budget for FY 2020, Investing in Our Future, a Clear, Bold Vision for Dania Beach. We're basically going to have your preliminary actions for tonight. Tonight, we're basically going to do a quick overview, but you're going to pass your proposed millage rate, which is 5.9998, which is the same rate as last year. The rollback rate is 5.9305 for this year, which is a 1.17% increase over the last year. Your voter debt millage rate is 0.1690 that we're requesting. That is the millage rate that the city is authorized to levy based on the previous general obligation bonds that were passed by the residents. We're going to set our first budget public hearing, which is going to be September 12th, and this is the date that will be advertised on the trim notices that go out to the residents, and that's going to be at 5:01 p.m. here at City Hall. We're going to set the preliminary fire rescue assessment, which is $223.75, which is the same as last year. We are not proposing any increase in the fire assessment rate for this year. We did conduct a fire assessment rate study and updated it for this year with the consultant, and there was no recommendation to increase it at this time. The stormwater assessment is going to be remaining the same at $40 per ERU. And the residential solid waste does have a slight increase, which is in conjunction with the CPI and the fuel adjustment cost permitted per the contract with Waste Management. It's $7.08 for the entire year, which will bring our rate to $365.22. To give a little bit of background, as the manager had already spoken about, we do have steady growth still continuing in the city, but we can see that there was a decline from last year of about 3%. Over last year, we are seeing an increase in values because we do have new construction, but 2014, our growth was 4.49%. This year, it's, for 2019, it's 4.54. To give you a little bit of information as to how this is affecting your city property values right now, last year we tried to at least give you a breakdown of how the city composition is as far as by classification. You can see the trending, it hasn't shifted significantly. We're still around 50% residential. Our hotels are about 9.4%. Commercial is 23%, industrial is 15.6%, and the other 1.5% is comprised of just various different parcels, whether it be governmental parcels, things like that. As far as the market value, the average home values, according to the property appraiser for Dania Beach only, your market value for a single-family home is around $270. The average assessed value is $192, and the taxable value is $158. This year, they did break it down further for us and included condominiums separately. Those market values are $143,000. Your assessed values are $123, and the taxable value on those average at $105. Approximately 38% of our properties, though, however, are homesteaded. The other 62% are non-homesteaded properties, which means they're either rental properties, they're commercial properties, warehouse, industrial type uses. What does this really mean for the city of Dania Beach? Well, for this year, the increase in value, the 4.17%, is $185 million increased taxable value. About $138 million of that was due to new construction, additions, major renovations, and rehabilitations. That nets the city approximately $850,000 this year in property tax revenue. I went to take a look at these things. I wanted to give you just an idea of where that new construction primarily came from. The new construction on those, we did get partial Phase 1 in Dania Point. We got quite a bit of that in Dania Point. The Morrison Hotel came online, the Wyndham Hotel, the Comfort Suites. There's a warehouse unit off of Griffin Road that accounted for a portion of that. The Aquabella Townhomes, the Aldi Supermarket, and the Discount Auto Parts. Something that I still want to stress, which I know I've said over the last couple of years, there's a lot of growth occurring and exciting things that are happening in Dania Beach right now, but timing is everything. A lot of the times the increased development is coming in, but along with that comes your increased demand for services. So these demands often start occurring before the revenue comes in. And the fact that we're seeing the differentiation between last year's 7% and this year's 4% means that you can understand that some of that growth that's occurring now isn't going to hit the tax rolls for another year or 2 years. There's just a lagging effect, but unfortunately sometimes the demand comes for public safety, the demand comes for other services that are needed in anticipation of the development before they actually happen. Our budget focus for this year and major initiatives are key. Investment in the city team. We feel it's very important. We've added some key additional positions into this budget. The implementation of the comp and class, retaining and recruiting employees with the city, which the commission has already adopted, and dealing with our rising healthcare cost. City appearance, beautification, and infrastructure, improving our roadways, our street lightings, cemetery, city buildings, city parks, pier, water, sewer, and stormwater. Public safety, there's a focus. We've added the new fire chief. The commission already approved that at mid-year. The increase in contract costs and the police and fire radio communications are now a part of our actual contract costs for the next 3 years. The commission previously approved for us to go ahead and enter into an agreement. These are being done on a 3-year lease purchase. So this year is the first year. It's about $100,000 per, one for police and one for fire. And those are included in this year's contract cost. Capital plan and strategic plan initiatives are included in this budget, and we want to ensure that we continue to sustain the funding for our pension plans and our OPEB cost. We're going to go a little bit into that right now. I'd like to always encourage the City Commission and the public to stay abreast of what our pension costs are. As everybody knows, we did close both of our city pension plans, one in 2006, the other in 2011. When we went to Broward Sheriff's Office for the fire. Our pension plan cost for this year, our total $8.8 million. The police pension plan funding is $820,000 for this year, which is an increase of $39,000. The fire pension is $5.48 million, which is $22,000 increase from the prior year. General pension plan is $1.36 million, which is a decrease of $435,000. The Florida retirement system is $996,000, which is an increase of $187,000 over prior year. And the OPEB healthcare cost, this budget does include $200,000 of funding towards that liability. I think the important thing to take away from this information is that the city is, oops, excuse me, is that we're actually seeing the funding trend going in the right direction. Your police pension plan went from 59% to 66% funded. Your fire pension is going from 71 to 78. Your general employee pension 77 to 82. And your Florida retirement system, we now have about 134 employees in the Florida retirement system. We have very few employees that are still in the old pension plans. We have 16 in the general, and we have 15 active in the fire, and the rest are all either in the drop or retired. The basic guidelines for funding your pension, your retirement costs should be funded in the years that the people are actually working here. We know that didn't happen in the past, which has been a challenge for the city in the past, but that this commission and prior commissions have rose to that challenge. We've been funding a great deal in our annual budgets in order to meet those obligations that we have in front of us. And the funding mechanisms that I showed you on the prior slide indicates how well that we've been doing with that. As I had mentioned before, this budget does include funding for those annual pension requirements in a total of $8.8 million. The general fund highlights what's included in this budget. As a quick overview, this budget is balanced. It is balanced using no increase in the property tax rate. We are suggesting a use of $300,000 of undesignated fund balance. These are only to be used for capital items. They're earmarked for the OASIS Project 16, which has yet to be identified. We want to continue with that OASIS program if the commission chooses. And also look at spending some money for the second floor City Hall renovation. We all know that we're in need of space right now. We're going to have some key positions that are proposed in the budget, and if we have those positions, we are going to need a place to put the bodies. Public safety contract cost in this budget, $26.2 million. The police is up about 3.2%, and the fire rescue is up 7.3%. That does include the cost of the radios as well, though. To kind of give you an idea how that fits into our overall budget, the total general fund budget is $57,000. Our total contract costs are $33.8 million for police, fire, and pension. So we're running about 59% of our public safety cost of our entire general fund budget. That does include the legacy pension plan funding as well. If you were to remove that, we're about 50% just for contract costs. But we can't forget that those legacy fire and pension benefits are out there, and we do have to continue to fund those. Highlights for the city commission budget. There is in here the grant writer, which is a contractual position. We've maintained that at $35,000. The budget for the aids to private organizations are $40,000. Your chamber funding is $45,000 in total, $40,000 which was the annual donation, and $5,000 which is a donation that we give towards the directory. And legislative consultant for $55,000, the lobbyist consultant at $45,000. The expense allowance, which was previously approved by the city commission, is in here. The $20,000 is just the impact on this year's budget over last year. Travel expenses are currently budgeted at $36,000 for the city commission based on what we anticipate the FY19 actual is going to be. I do know that's not what was approved in the actual travel policy, but we were told that we were going to come back and discuss that probably during the budget workshop to see if we were going to keep it at the same. So right now we do have this based at least on the expenditures for this year, including the conference that you're going to at the end of August for the league. Commission contingency is set at $100,000. In Parks and Recreation, some of the highlights include lifeguard radios. We want to purchase radios for the lifeguards. They need to be in conjunction with the ones that the fire and police are going to be utilizing under the new systems. Adler Park, tables and benches. We're looking to do some beautification improvements there. PJ Pool is in need of pool heaters. Those are at $41,000. There's $30,000 budgeted each for the Dania Beach seniors and the Gracefully Aging Seniors program. That money is funded for just for those programs. The actual charter buses that we discussed in the prior year are still being funded separately from that within the Recreation Department budget. That does not come out of the $30,000. MLK funding is still set at $15,000. The athletic program funds, this is the second year of the programming, it is set at $39,000. I know last year it was $100,000, but that was the initiating first year. We've worked with the recreation director and Anthony, who is the athletic director, and they feel that this is the number that they're going to need for the upcoming year. The community bus is still funded. As you know, we did lose some of the funding for that last year from the county, but we are funding the entire east and west route. It costs $222,000, but there is some possible future reduction in that via the penny sales tax. That's something we, need to look into. Holiday lighting in the recreation budget is $18,000. That's intended to include holiday lighting at the various parks, not here at City Hall. They would like to expand our holiday lighting at the different facilities for the upcoming FY20 budget year. Public Services, Construction and Maintenance Division, there's $60,000 for solar lighting maintenance. The $100,000 we spoke of already before under construction and maintenance would be to remodel the second floor, what we lovingly call the West Wing over here. Public Services Street Division, there's $395,000 allocated for roadway and alleyway repaving, $115,000 for citywide sidewalks, $35,000 for pavement marking and signage. Bridge inspections, we do have some bridges that do need some inspecting to kind of see what kind of state they're in. And then also the $200,000 which we spoke about, which is for the Oasis 16 improvement project. That project, once identified, would be brought back to the commission as usual and customary for your input and approval. The Fleet Division, we have some requests for some actual equipment this year in a few vehicles. We have a John Deere Gator for the Streets Division. A backhoe, which is going to be funded amongst 4 different funds, actually, because it's going to be utilized by all the different divisions, water, sewer, stormwater, and the streets division, and landscaping. Same with the John Deere mini excavator. That's also going to be split among the funds. And then the Parks Maintenance Division is requesting an F-250 to replace one of the other units that they have that's aging. Funded position requests. We had some requests for positions this year, and these are the key positions that I spoke about earlier in the presentation. The first position is a full-time administrative coordinator to the City Commission. The estimated impact, salary, benefits, insurance is $89,000. The City Manager's Office, we're looking to add a Chief Procurement Officer. This is to help centralize the actual purchasing and support for all the city departments. Estimated impact on that is $146,000. The City Attorney's Office, there's a consideration for an assistant city attorney and a part-time administrative assistant. The proposal for these will be brought to you separately, but that is actually going to be funded from a reduction in contractual cost as well as some benefits in that department. The City Clerk is requesting that we bring the part-time record specialist that we currently have to a full-time status to deal with the additional workload in that department. Recreation is requesting 2 part-time recreation assistants and an assistant parks and rec director. Public Services in this budget is approved as a proposed, it's a treatment plant operator B in the Water Division. The Chief Procurement Officer, just so you know, it is being funded out of the general fund. However, because of the type of position that it is, we will be recouping some of that cost annually through the actual cost allocation program. You can see that some positions we actually split up immediately. This position is going to be servicing all departments citywide, so it's more proper to recapture the cost on that through the cost allocation. Reclass positions, we have 4 positions that are currently being requested to be reclassed. One is the accounting assistant position in the finance department. We're requesting that be reclassed to an accountant position based on our needs in that department. Public Services is requesting that the vacant associate engineer position be reclassified to a CIP and grants administrator to better support that department. And then the Parks and Maintenance Landscape Manager is requested to be reclassified to a Public Works Superintendent. Community Development, there's a request to take the vacant permit office supervisor position and to reclassify that as a GIS specialist to better suit the needs of that department. Our enterprise funds, there has been no recommended changes in the water and sewer rates. The water fund hasn't had any rate increases since 2011. We did go out this past year and do a water and sewer rate study with our consultants, and they came back not recommending any rate changes at this time. We do have project initiatives that are still in place for this particular division. We currently still have the Water Main Northwest First Street project at $432,000, which is in process. The lime slaker replacement, which was approved last year. And then for the upcoming FY20 budget, we're looking at $180,000 for water distribution improvements and maintenance. And then you'll see the split of the John Deere backhoe and the John Deere mini excavator for their proportionate share, the 25% cost for those two vehicles. And then there's two other vehicles that are being funded from the water division, an F-350 and an F-250. Sewer fund, once again, no rate change is recommended through the rate study that was completed this year. We have two projects that are still in the works. One is the SCADA system, which is substantially complete. The lift station rehab project for lift station 5, 7, and 10. One of those, I think it's lift station 7 that is complete. 5 and 10 are still under construction. For the FY20 budget, we're proposing some sewer pump replacements. Distribution improvements are $305,000 incorporated into the budget, and the proportional share of the John Deere backhoe and the John Deere mini excavator. Stormwater fund, we are not recommending a change in that as in the ERU's rate for that particular fund either. We do have FY18 two projects that are still outstanding. I think we're all well aware of the Southeast Stormwater Phase 2 project, which we're going back out for again. On a bid. That is actually to be funded through an SRF loan. We did get an extension on that, and that just recently came through. So we're not in any jeopardy of losing any of the funding for that. The stormwater improvement for the Southwest 43rd, 40th Court, and 49th Terrace is underway. That's $1.2 million. For the next year in FY20, we're looking at citywide small drainage projects of $132,000, the John Deere backhoe and the mini excavator proportional share, and an F-250 vehicle. It's important to remember that for the stormwater funds, although you don't see any major projects, part of one of the big initiatives we're doing in this year is developing a complete and detailed capital improvement and strategic plan. Your stormwater and your sewer and water funds, your enterprise funds, once these projects they have already started are complete, they can come to the commission at any point in time if they need to request more money to jumpstart another project. So we're not in quite the same situation as we are with the general fund. Your other enterprise funds include your parking, your pier, your beach, and your marina funds. The parking, this budget does include another $200,000 being allocated towards the beach redevelopment down at the beach. We're currently in phase 2. We're still working on doing some lateral lines. We do know that we're going to, have some more projects that are going to come up down there, especially with the potential for us to maybe look at doing some other type of development in that area. So this is going to continue to fund that project. Any use of those funds would still have to come to the commission before we could actually spend the funds. As far as the pier, it is self-supporting operation at this point. We did transfer all revenues generated at the pier last year to the pier fund, so we could actually start working on some long-term maintenance down there. The restaurant is in need of some painting and some upgrades. The pier needs planking, that sort of thing. We do have $275,000 that was in FY19, which has yet to be completely utilized. We are going to carry that over for FY20. That way we can get down there. We know the elevator needs to be replaced and repaired, so that's kind of on everyone's radar right now. We have a new public services director who's going to be actively working on that for us. The beach continued improvements, we already talked about that. The phase 2 funding is currently at $1.19 million, which does include the electrical relocations and the lifeguard bathroom building, which is still under construction. So once those are completed, and we are looking to start working towards the implementation of the 2014 Beach Master Plan. As far as the marina is concerned, occupancy is steady. We're not having any issues there. It is self-supporting, including the annual loan repayment. This particular budget does include an increase in the actual slip rental rates as part of our covenants with our loan and our grant compliance. We do have to make sure that we stay within the market ranges for the actual slip rentals. They are recommending that we increase them $25 a month to stay in line with those. As a conclusion, this recommended budget presents a strategic, proactive, and balanced financial plan, investing in our future with a clear, bold vision for Dania Beach. We'd like to thank the City Commission, the Budget Committee, department heads, city team for all their assistance and cooperation in developing the plan. As a reminder, these are the actions that we're going to take tonight. The not to exceed millage rate, your debt millage, your fire rescue assessment, your stormwater assessment, and your residential solid waste. We do have a calendar at the very back of your presentation to remind everyone what our upcoming meetings are going to be. July 30th is tonight. The 31st to the 27th is going to be an opportunity before the budget workshop for us to have one-on-one meetings with each of the commissioners, if they so choose, with the city manager and the budget committee to go over any details of the budget. August 28th is the commission workshop that's already been established. It's at 10 a.m. here at City Hall. Our first public hearing is going to be on September 12th, and the second public hearing to adopt the final budget is on September 23rd.
Commissioner Brandon Marty. What? I have your button. I'm sorry, Commissioner Harris.
The one pension plan that we talked about last year was, I think, Tom, and we talked about one called Last Man Standing, I think we called it. That's fully funded, and there's no additional funding for that. Is that correct?
No, it's not. That's your police department. It's not fully funded
Okay.
right now.
And is it more this year than it was last year? Because remember, as the participants are no longer available?
Good choice. Yeah. There's no new people going into the plan on either side. So, but yes, it is more funded than it was last year. That's on the police side. It went from 59.6% funded to 66.3% funded.
And then just one more thing about the transportation, the bus, the shuttle bus. I think there's some funds that the MPO has put aside for transportation issues around the county, so we might be able to capture some of those funds because of the one penny sales tax initiative, and those funds would be available in January of 2020.
Of
So
2020.
there's something to think about. As the conversation continues, I'll be able to find out how much that's going to be, so that's a plus on our side.
That would be great.
That's all.
Commissioner James.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Nikki, for this thorough presentation. I have a few things to quickly discuss, or would you rather we waited into the workshop? Because I remember the last time we kind of discussed a few things that we wanted removed or added or changed.
Yeah, I think the overall plan is tonight we're going to adopt, the commission pretty much has already said they don't want to increase the millage rate at all, so we're going to adopt the not to exceed rate and the preliminary assessments, and then we have a month to kind of go through and speak with each individual commissioner one-on-one, and then we'll have the group workshop on the 28th where you can all talk amongst each other.
Okay.
Do you want to hold off? I mean, is it something that we need to address tonight, or can it wait till the
I mean, it's a
workshop?
bunch of stuff on here that I feel like we need to address,
Sure,
but no
sure.
one wants to. Like the number one, the second floor renovations, I think that that's something that should be workshopped first before we even know what exactly is going to go up there. I don't recall us having a consensus to even have this here on the budget, because I don't know what's going up, what all positions are going up there. You said extra bodies. The last thing I heard of any comments is that we don't even have any offices. So what?
There's not, but in order for us to kind of start going down that path, obviously anything that's approved in the budget is going to have to come back to the commission for approval, but we're going to need to make a decision and get a direction on which way we're going to go with that and decide what.
Right, but this comes from the reserve, so this doesn't even really need to be addressed in the budget because it doesn't unbalance the budget or
You're-
affect it,
you're
right?
correct. Yes.
Okay, and I know that we are trying to approve all these other positions, but the primary focus of us even talking about possibly renovating was because the commission doesn't even have offices. For the public that's out
And-
there, we don't have any offices. And so
And that's part of the consideration as well.
well, we need to workshop that, I think, and make that decision on what we want up there in the first place. I don't know, we just haven't had that discussion. I mean, I haven't had that
Commissioner,
discussion.
no, I don't think any of us have, but I think this might be something that we discuss on the one-on-ones, and then we come back in the workshop and maybe discuss it further as to whether or not it's something that we even want to keep in the budget or not.
That's fine, I'm just putting it out
Yeah.
there. I'm just
No, I know, I know we're short on time, we're already past 5:30, so I'm just trying to.
That's fine. I'm just going to go quickly through we don't have to, but the chief procurement officer, I think we could not have somebody that is like chief or something that's so strong. I think we can start with like a procurement manager. The city attorney, we're still kind of in limbo of what we're doing with that. We have an RFP out, so I have issue with that. I don't think that we need a assistant parks and rec director at this moment. We don't have a parks master plan passed or even a plan to even fund it, so expanding that department. And I don't see the med unit that we discussed while we were up here. It's something that was very important, and I had that conversation with the city manager a couple of weeks ago. I don't see that in here as well. So those are the things that I'm going to be discussing whenever we discuss this budget.
Are you finished? I just want to make sure before I move on.
I'm finished.
Okay, Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Yes. First and foremost, I always take the position I will not meet with the city manager or anybody one-on-one. I will meet with all of us together where we could hear each other's input on anything that has to do with this. That's number one. So don't call me and ask me for a one-on-one. Ain't going to happen. Second of all, Nikki, I have to ask you something.
Yes.
I don't know if you could even answer it, hon, but I want to know, how much can we set the millage rate at in order to give a small tax relief to the taxpayers? It's just something that's been going over on my mind. Everybody hears, oh, how wonderful we're doing. We got all this money to spend on this. We got all these money for these positions. I want to know what would be that we could lower the millage rate to give that break to the taxpayers instead of worrying about a second floor and all this other stuff, which we never discussed anyway because we were thinking about a new city hall and painting up outside. There's a lot of things in this budget that I do not agree with, but I want to be able to say it in a setting where my fellow commissioners and our city manager and you are present. You follow me? Like the grant writer. I thought we hired a grant writer. And if we did hire a grant writer, why are we still paying the previous person for writing grants for us? I got so many questions, but I want to do it in an open, transparency setting. Okay? So I'll ask you again, if you could give me, like, how much can we set a millage rate at in order to give our taxpayers a small break?
We can come back with numbers.
Would
I
you
guess
do that?
You would need to define what small break is.
Anything that puts some money
So-
back in their pocket, since all of these property values went up so high. We never discussed giving the taxpayers back anything.
Okay.
Good.
Pardon me?
Part of,
Even if it, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. Even if you came back, like, say, with 0.5%, all I want to know is, we're not just throwing money out the window on, oh, new positions and new rooms and this and that. And meanwhile, the taxpayers are getting nothing. We're doing fine with what we've got. And don't keep staring over that way.
I'm not staring at anything.
Okay,
I'm trying
because
to-
I'm one-on-one talking to you, and I would like you to come back with some kind of a small something for the people, all right?
can I, well,
Go ahead.
let me just add something. The millage rate that we're setting, it can't go up, but it can go down from there,
Correct.
correct?
Right.
So
Right.
if we're setting the millage rate, then we can put this millage rate out there now, and then when we come back with a workshop, we can always address it,
Correct.
correct? Okay. It
Yeah,
can go
that
down, it
sounds
just
good.
can't go up.
No, I know it's not going to go up,
Right.
but, yeah, no, thanks. But that's
That's
all
the
I'm
point.
questioning is that's all.
Okay.
But thanks.
City manager, did you have something as well?
Yes, because I just want to remind everyone that the new money that we received this year was $850,000. Out of those $852,000, 1.2 million automatically went to fire and to police.
They're always up there first,
Right.
and they eat up the biggest part of our budget, which is what it should be.
Absolutely, we're at 60%, so that's very good, and we keep focusing on public safety. And I just wanted to reiterate, setting the millage rate at today's millage rate doesn't mean we cannot, through the process, bring it down.
That's all I'm asking.
Okay.
Okay?
Anything else? No? Okay. So that's it?
Yep.
Next thing is public hearings.
First resolution is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, relating to the imposition of fire rescue assessments and the provision of fire services, facilities, and programs within the City of Dania Beach, Florida, providing authority, affirming the provisions and findings of resolution numbers 2017-084 and 2017-105, providing purpose, effect, and definitions, providing for provision and funding of fire services, providing for imposition and collection of such assessments, providing legislative determinations of special benefit and fair apportionment, providing updated assessment methodology and calculations, establishing preliminary not-to-exceed assessment rates for fire assessments, to provide for the provision of fire services, facilities, and programs for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2019, directing the preparation of a preliminary assessment roll, authorizing a public hearing, and directing the provision of mailed and published notice of such hearing, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, further providing for an effective date.
Commissioner James?
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against?
Bobby Grace, 110 Northwest 8th Avenue, Dania Beach, Florida. First of all, I want to commend the city manager and our finance department for bringing forth to us a budget that we can work with. However, I don't think that everything that is in this budget should be here. I truly believe that we have to take in consideration of why we have a budget. It's because of the people that live in the city of Dania Beach that supports what we're doing to make the city even better. I don't think that the funded positions that you're asking for, the 15, 16 positions, this is not Western, this is not Aventura, this is not Parkland, this is Dania Beach. Small town atmosphere where we've learned to work on our own and to make sure that we have the supporting staff that we really need. I don't see anything in this budget considering the general employees, the people who really toast us to the point that where we are each day in this city to make sure that everything works. It's not in here. I really would like to see you workshop this budget, come back with something that will benefit the residents of the city of Dania Beach, the taxpayers that pay the monies. I know that the fire department and the police department are an intimate part of what happens in the city of Dania Beach. We're going to have to escalate that in the next couple of years. But let's take care of what we have now. You're putting in positions that we really don't need at this point, and I can't see it.
She's right.
You're going to have to prove it to me. Thank you so much.
Bill, turn that for me, please. Assistant
Anyone else?
to that.
Move the
Outta
item.
here.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Seeing none.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, relating to the collection and disposal of solid waste in the City of Dania Beach, Florida, establishing the not-to-exceed assessment rate for solid waste service assessments against assessed property located within the boundaries of the City of Dania Beach for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2019, directing the preparation of an assessment roll, authorizing a public hearing, and directing the provision of notice of such hearing, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against?
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone
Next.
opposed?
Next, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, relating to the provision of stormwater services, facilities, and programs within the City of Dania Beach, Florida, establishing the not-to-exceed assessment rate for stormwater assessments for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2019, directing the preparation of respective assessment rolls, authorizing a public hearing, and directing the provision of notice of such hearing, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Again, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against?
Move the item.
Second.
Or whatever.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Last, the resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, as required by the city charter and Section 200.065 Florida statutes, approving the proposed millage rate necessary to be levied for the fiscal year 2019-2020 for operating purposes, establishing the debt millage approved by the electorate, providing for a public hearing when objections may be heard and questions concerning same will be answered, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
It's a public hearing. Anyone here to speak for or against?
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We were supposed to start a meeting at 5:30. I'm going to propose that we take a 5-minute break and return at 5:49. We're adjourned.
Bobby, good job. Really? Good job. I'm with you. Unnecessary jobs. Really cut me a break.
It's like, wait a minute, it's 6.5. And one of them is 30. So I'm asking for 5.5.
Hey, but can I retire and get this position? I think I'd rather have this one.
Our neighbors across the street are moving out.
No, but that's,
They can go smoke pot with their baby somewhere else in the front yard.
Let's give that one to you.
you know, I thought about that.
He's here.
I actually thought about it. Hey, so we're good to go. You ready? Awesome. No, of course. And don't touch anything and get us sick.
Eat it.
Do you keep this or no? No. Okay. Well, put it under here because I do.
You want to keep this? I don't know how you're going to carry everything. Okay.
Put some of the stuff back up.